Today, we're diving into something that's huge for your health, but it totally flies under the radar. We're talking about the hidden connection between your hormones and, yep, your heart. So, when you think about keeping your heart healthy, what's the first thing that pops into your head? I bet it's stuff like cholesterol, right? Or blood pressure, maybe how often you hit the gym. But what if there was something else? A powerful, kind of invisible force really pulling the strings behind the scenes? Yeah, it goes way, way deeper than just what you eat and how much you exercise. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on your body's own secret messengers. You got it. We're talking about your hormones. These things are sending signals 24/7, and they have a direct and, I mean, profound impact on your entire cardiovascular system. Okay, so first things first, let's talk about these secret messengers of your heart. To really get this, we've got to start at the command center, right? The place where all these signals come from. And that command center, it's your endocrine system. The best way to think about it is like your body's own internal internet. It's this whole network of glands, and their job is to create and send out hormones. These hormones then travel through your bloodstream, kind of like emails, acting as chemical messengers that control, well, almost everything. And that includes, you guessed it, the very rhythm and health of your heart. All right, let's meet one of the biggest players on this team, the thyroid. It's this small, butterfly-shaped gland in your neck, but don't let its size fool you. It is an absolute master regulator of your cardiovascular system. So the thing about the thyroid is it doesn't just do one thing. Its effect is what scientists call pleiotropic, which is just a fancy way of saying it has its fingers in a lot of different pies. It can impact your heart rate, your blood pressure, even your cholesterol levels, all from this one little gland. And this is where things get really interesting, because it's not always super straightforward. Look, the big picture is crystal clear. Study after study links thyroid hormone levels to major heart health outcomes, for better or worse. But the science can be tricky. You'll see one specific study, for instance, that looked at different thyroid therapies and found no real difference in heart rate. It just goes to show you it's not always a simple A causes B kind of deal. So what's the bottom line here? The key takeaway is that when your thyroid gets out of whack, it can set off this ripple effect across your entire cardiovascular system. We're talking links to higher blood pressure, especially for people with conditions like PCOS, plus issues with the actual function of your heart muscle, and of course, changes to your heart rate. Okay, let's switch gears to another messenger. And this is one I know you've heard of, cortisol. Yep, the famous stress hormone. A good way to think of it is like your body's internal pressure cooker. Now, hold on. Before you think this is all about those huge, crazy, stressful moments in life, the research actually points to something sneakier. We're talking about even a subtle, low-level, but chronic excess of cortisol, the kind you might not even be aware of day to day, and that can silently be creating some major risks for your heart. So how does that even happen? Well, it's like a chain reaction. It all starts with that subtle, constant drip of extra cortisol. From there, it can lead to things like insulin resistance. That's when your body gets bad at using sugar for energy. And it can cause endothelial dysfunction, which is basically damage to the inner lining of your blood vessels. And guess what those two things are? They're huge drivers of high blood pressure, ramping up the total stress on your heart and metabolism. And this quote from the research really just nails it. This isn't some vague idea of stress being bad for you. No, it's about clear, measurable, endocrine-driven impacts on cardiovascular risk factors. In other words, your hormones are literally directly setting the stage for potential heart problems. All right, let's move on to another really critical group of hormones, your sex hormones. And with these, the name of the game is truly all about balance, a really, really delicate balance. This gives you a really good snapshot of what I mean. You can see how different hormones and therapies can have totally different impacts. For example, some hormonal contraceptives come with a higher risk of blood clots. Testosterone, well, that can affect things like inflammation and atherosclerosis, the hardening of the arteries. And then you have estrogen and progesterone, which are constantly modulating the factors that lead to heart disease in the first place. It's a really complex dance. Okay, so we've spent all this time talking about what hormones do to your heart, but that begs the question, what controls the hormones? Well, guess what? This is where you come in. This is the part of the story where you're actually in the driver's seat, because your lifestyle choices have a massive impact. Let's start with some good news. Take something like intermittent fasting. It's a lifestyle choice, right? but it can actually trigger hormonal shifts that have real positive benefits for your heart. We're talking things like lower blood pressure, lower triglycerides, and even a boost in your good HDL cholesterol. That's a direct line from a lifestyle choice to your hormones to a healthier heart. But of course, there's a flip side. And wow, this chart is just so powerful. Look at the incidence of high blood pressure in shift workers compared to a control group. That's almost 77% versus 51%. That is a huge difference. And why? It's because working odd hours completely throws your natural hormonal rhythms, your circadian clock, out of whack. And that disruption has a massive and clearly measurable impact on things like blood pressure. So after all this, what's the big takeaway? What's the point? It's simple, really. We've got to stop looking at all these things in separate little boxes. We have to start connecting the dots. Because here's the thing, it's almost never about just one single hormone going rogue. It's a team sport. A great example is chronic heart failure. In many cases, it's not just one hormone that's off. It's deficiencies in multiple hormones all at once that are making the condition worse. Your body's one giant interconnected system. So, okay, why should you care about all this? Well, a few big reasons. First, your hormonal health isn't some side issue. It's a core part of your overall health profile. Second, this proves that managing heart risk can't be a one-size-fits-all prescription. It has to be personalized. And finally, it just shows how important it is for different doctors, like your heart doctor and a hormone specialist, to actually talk to each other and work as a team. So we've met the messengers. We've seen just how much power they have over our hearts. The only question left is, now that you know they're sending you signals all the time, are you actually listening to them?